Hey, Curtis,
Hey Oz,
you got a movie to kick off our new theme this month?
I do to kick off our new theme. I've got Mommy Dearest
Mm-hmm.
meets The Fly while eating a continental breakfast at Motel Hell.
Oh,
This week we're watching Psycho.
yeah, great way to kick off the week, the month, too.
Yeah.
Welcome back, listeners, viewers, to another episode of Let's Talk About Flicks, the weekly podcast where we take a monthly theme, new month.
New theme, new month. Oh,
Yeah,
excited for this one.
yes, we're kicking off
Yeah,
Hitchcocktober,
we are.
Alfred Hitchcocktober.
As opposed to Milton Hitchcock.
Right.
or I don't know,
Win-
Larry Hitchcock.
Winston Hitchcock.
Winston Hitchcock. Herman Hitchcock.
Bill Hitchcock. So we're Mitch Hitchcock.
Mitch Hitchcock.
But no, we're kicking off Hitchcocktober. 4 hours later.
Mitch Hitchcock, attorney at law.
I think he'd probably go by Esquire.
Would it Mitch Hitchcock, Esquire?
Mitch Hitchcock, Esquire, attorney at law. He'd throw both in there.
Yeah, Esquire.
So, anyway, I'm on here with Sauce.
The other host, Curtis.
And before we get rolling out into what honestly is going to be a very solid month of film.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a little higher brow than we've been dealing with in recent months, too.
Cleanse our palate just a bit.
Yeah.
But we do want to give a shout out to our beloved Patreon subscribers, Don S., Aaron A., Mandy K., Melissa L., Colleen K., and Lyle M. Thank you, one and all, for your patronage.
Thank you, one and all. I know we always include it at the end, but I'll include it in the beginning as well. Thank you to the Chicago Indie Critics. Yeah.
Great group of people. We'd love to shout more of your names out individually as Patreon subscribers. So,
wink, wink.
There's a link down below if you're if you want to rise above the group dynamic of the Chicago Indie Critic and have your name mentioned, like Don S.
Yeah, that's our incestuous plug to the organization that we are a part of.
Yeah, just give a little.
Yeah.
Take some of our dues and just give it back to us monthly.
Yeah, just hand them right back to us. That's how this works, right?
Oh, kicking off a 5-weeker.
We do. Yeah, what a month to have and what a theme to have for 5 weeks.
Well, and honestly, there's some themes that we've had where we've moved them to a 4-week month because of the inability to fill a 5th week. This month definitely benefits from a 5th week because there's still a lot of movies we've left off the table.
Yeah, we could have done Hitchcock to year.
That's right, Hitchcock to year. Yeah, easy.
Yep.
Just rolls off the
rolls
tongue.
off. Yeah, right there.
So yeah, Psycho is your film.
It is,
and because you've got it, this is one of those that if you're at home listening or in your commute or whatever, and you're going Psycho, never heard of this movie.
Yeah.
Or
you're like, wait, there was one before the one with Vince Vaughn?
Right. I thought that was, how did you do a remake in a prequel form?
Yeah. With Jamie Lee Curtis's mom?
Yeah, how did that work? Where's Anne Hesh? No, seriously, where's Anne Hesh?
I was just looking at that one before we get started here. I had the 98 reboot.
Psycho. Is that Gus Van Sant?
Gus Van Sant. I'm pretty sure it was his next film after Good Will Hunting. And I will say I've never seen it in its entirety. It's at a 4.6 on IMDb.
It's really bad.
It's like a shot for shot almost too.
It's not only that, they tried to go as much as they could word for word remake.
Yeah.
I've seen it one time. They took the script, brushed it up just enough to bring it more modern day. For instance, nobody gets too jazzed over $40,000 today like they did back in 1960.
It's $42,000.
Right, $1 million. But other than that, it's pretty much shot for shot, word for word, and it's got a lot of actors in it. It does, because otherwise it'd be really dull if it was just Vince Vaughn and Anne Hesh.
Just him. Yep. Or it's them playing every role.
All the roles. Yeah. But yeah, it does have a very solid cast. But again, you're riding you're riding the curtails of Good Will Hunting. You've got this like, this Hollywood darling and Gus Van Sant. It's like, whatever you want to do, Mr. Van Sant. It's like, I want to do
that passion project.
Yeah, I want to do shot for shot remake of Psycho, and they're like, let's line them up.
Yep.
Again, not really a terrible idea. You don't see a lot of Hitchcock movies remade, really.
Well, it's because
there's a reason.
Top them. Yeah,
because it's Alfred Hitchcock is why these movies are great. It's not because you're like, oh, what a great story or what a great plot, or it's Hitchcock and his ability to shoot and deliver Hitchcock films.
Yeah.
It's not because they're it's not like there's a difference between being a baker and then just buying a roll of Pillsbury like Christmas cookies and slicing them up out of the log and they still technically qualify as a cookie.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have the impact of what you really could have done.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so, but doing them by scratch, I mean, it just doesn't compare with Pillsbury.
No. It's like you could really drop the ball, or you could just let the doughboy take over and make his beloved log of cookie.
That's the holidays for me, my friend. Give me that log.
Logs and nogs. That's
That's going to be our new venture capitalist.
Yeah, logs and dogs.
Logs and dogs.
Right, Christmas.
Come for the dog, stay for the log.
My son couldn't remember what eggnog was called a couple of weeks ago. I was drinking something and he wanted to sip, took it. He's like, this tastes like that Christmas milk.
Yeah. Christmas milk.
That's what he called it. And I'm like, I kind of like that better than eggnog. Like,
I think we could market that. We could brand that.
I think more people would drink it if it weren't called eggnog.
Yeah, Christmas milk.
You want a little bit of Christmas milk? Wink.
New from Dean's.
Right. Get your carafe of Christmas milk.
Carafe. Now in 5-gallon jugs.
That's right. Get yourself a Christmas milk.
Like a Hinckley and Schmidt thing of Christmas milk.
It's so thick and frothy.
Just tear the little thing off and
There you go. Mm-hmm. Christmas milk. So I was like, I like that, buddy.
That's pretty good. I like it.
I got the cast this week. Let me get to that.
Who's in Psycho?
I'm gonna switch it up just a bit.
Okay.
Because I want to introduce Janet Leigh first.
Okay.
Because I think there's a little.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah. Because on my cast list she's literally at the bottom because I want to move her to the top. Because
wasn't she billed as like and Janet Leigh?
And Janet Leigh, yeah. Janet Leigh, like honestly, this doesn't get done a whole lot either. It went through a little bit in the 90s, but really there was like Psycho in 1960, and then like you get the vibe. Nobody really did this effectively until Wes Craven did it in Scream in like 96 of like the little bait and switch of like, hey, look at this lady. Look at her. Mm-hmm. She's important. Now she's gone.
And she's dead.
She's gone. So
spoilers.
For those that haven't heard of this movie. So Janet Leigh is Marion Crane. We've got her love interest, John Gavin, as Sam Loomis, the name inspiration for Donald Pleasance. And they look a lot alike, too.
Great plume of chest hair as well on that man.
He's quite the peacock of chest hair. Vera Miles shows up as Janet Leigh's sister, Marion Crane.
No, Lila.
Yeah, I'm looking. I saw Vera Miles, and I went down. Yeah, Lila Crane. So we got a little family unit going there.
Yep.
Then really we've got, private investigator Martin Balsam as Milton Arbogast.
Yeah.
And then the only one that really matters is Anthony Perkins as Norman Bates. You've got others in there, but
there's others as well.
They're just there. There's nothing of overly importance, but yeah, this is the Janet Leigh, Anthony Perkins vehicle that kind of kept them in the spotlight. But really, like, Janet Leigh's got like the least amount of screen time of anybody in the movie. So, but
makes
those
the
are
most
the cast.
of it.
Yeah, she really does.
Yeah,
she really does. So, tell us about this film for those that have not heard of it.
That little film called Psycho.
Yeah.
So we start off. I'll say again, what an amazing score in this movie.
Bernard Herrmann nailed it.
All strings.
Mm-hmm.
All strings.
It's just so like influential. Like Busta Rhymes has sampled this score in his music.
Busta Rhymes.
It's one of my favorite.
If Busta Rhymes has sampled it,
I don't knock Busta. I like Busta Rhymes.
I got nothing against Busta Rhymes.
Right. Well, you really got nothing for him either, though.
Yeah, I mean, he's Busta.
He's Busta. But no, I don't mind Busta Rhymes. He had his moment there in like the late 90s, early 2000s. Yeah. He's pairing up with the Pussycat Dolls and Janet Jackson. And
That's right. He did have a song with Janet Jackson.
Yeah. He's the king of the flip mode squad. This was back when you just announced your squad. Like 50 Cent had the G Unit, and and Busta Rhymes had his flip mode squad, and everybody's shouting out names.
What would your squad name be?
Oh, that's a good one. I don't know. I really don't know. I gave up on my rap career.
Yeah, I still have a squad.
I should have a squad. So I don't know. What would you call yours?
I don't know. Maybe like the Erasable Ink Squad.
There you go. I'd probably go like the Hodge Squad.
Squad. And
see if Hodgman would be in my squad.
John Hodgman.
If
John Hodgman would be in, yeah.
Only if he would be in there. You'd be in my Hodge Squad.
Yeah.
So
I'm trying to get the endorsement of the people at BIC for my Erasable Ink Squad.
I'd probably go something like the Nog Squad and get Dean on board.
Yeah. Christmas Milk Squad.
You're my Christmas Milk Squad.
The CMS.
Give me another hit of the Christmas milk.
Christmas milk. Xmas milk. What?
DXmas milk.
DX. Suck it. And by it, I mean Christmas milk.
I meant nog.
Road dog approved.
right. Can I get a 6-pack of Christmas milk?
6-pack.
So as you were saying, Bernard Herrmann.
Great score.
I don't know how we went from Bernard Herrmann to the Road Dog Jesse James.
We're talking Busta Rhymes and squats.
It's the six degrees of Jesse James. Is what it is.
Road Dog Jesse James. So yeah, great score. Great title card sequence too.
Oh yeah. Shifty. Yeah, I do. Yeah. Hitchcock keeps everything it's simple but effective. I just love it.
Well, and speaking of simple, I was reading some of the trivia and stuff that he intended this film to be very simple because this was coming off the heels of Vertigo and North by Northwest, which were bigger productions.
Like a lot of locations and
and so he wanted to do something simple. And so, scaled back to black and white and just told this. It really is a very simple story.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. So we open in Phoenix, title card Friday, December 11th. We got again Sam Loomis and Marion Crane just finished making sweet love.
Right, yeah.
Dogs
and logs.
There was a lot of scandal with this movie.
A lot.
It opens and they had you're guessing that, just minutes prior they had finished having sex.
Yeah.
And she's in a bra, he's shirtless. There's one bed in the room. Like
Hitchcock kept it so simple. There's no wardrobe on this film.
Nope, no wardrobe. We're cutting the wardrobe, folks.
Not just the person, no wardrobe.
No. Nope.
Do not wear clothes.
No. Just you're fine in your bra. That's it.
Janet, you're fine. Yes.
Well, and she's in her bra a couple of times in the movie, and again, this was, and I know we're because it's us, we can't help but laugh at things, but this was really groundbreaking.
Oh yeah, I was just going to mention that this is back in that era of film where your studio systems have lost a little bit of control, not tons, but the old style studio system of everyone's locked into contract.
You're moving from the golden age of cinema to the silver age.
So it's broken a little bit of that just prerequisite of what everyone is expecting, and then you get some of these Hitchcockian directors that are like, we're going to really push the envelope here, and so this also, because like you said, groundbreaking, but it's like, this is the era where there's so many firsts, not even on just in movies, but in TV. Like, just people are like, oh my God, can you believe it? They showed a toilet.
And it flushed. It flushed.
Right. I just can't imagine being in the
people's bottoms go in there.
I just people getting up and walking out of the theater. Like, I've had enough. I tolerated the brassiere, but I'm not gonna do a flush.
You know who would like this movie because it has flushing toilets and showers is number 45.
I believe so.
Yeah, I mean, he spends a lot of time talking about flushing toilets and showers. So
great film. Never seen one like it.
The best film.
Have you seen this film, Psycho?
Film walked up to me and had tears in its eyes. So we got these two. They're post-coital, and basically they've been meeting in secret for a while, and they're talking about marriage. And he's like, "Oh, I have debts to pay." He's got an ex-wife's alimony,
right?
And I can't get married with these financial anchors,
which is pretty awesome,
yeah.
Really, because in today's age, it's like, I got debt. Who can I marry? Whose other paycheck can I whittle away?
Exactly. And so that really kind of sets the plot in motion here. So Marion works in a real estate office. She goes back. She's, she comes in looking tired, and the office assistant there, the other female who works in the office, offers her tranquilizers.
Yeah, like, you want some?
Yeah, some tranquilizers. I got some tranquilizers.
It's 1960.
Just sitting around the workplace. So it's fine to talk about tranquilizers, but how dare we flush a toilet?
You just don't.
No, you don't. You hold it. You just hold it.
I don't think toilets. I think was the first time anyone's ever seen a toilet.
Yeah.
In this movie.
Indoor plumbing. It was just, just latrines.
Outhouses were all the rage.
Yeah, that's right. There's a buyer there, an older gentleman, and he's there to pay cash for a big property transaction, and he hits on Marion, and it is super gross.
He basically beats her up with attention. Oh. It's not just hitting on her; it's destroying her.
It's gross, and I will give credit. I mean, Hitchcock was notoriously not the nicest of guys,
right?
But in this, I get the sense that that you wanted to feel that this guy was gross.
Yes.
And they definitely got the point across.
Vicky's like, what would I do here? I know. Writes it in script.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, so I'm hoping to buy a home for my 18-year-old daughter and her new husband. So I'm going to go hit on this mid-20-something who's only a couple of years older than my 18-year-old daughter.
Because I'm walking in with $40,000 cash, and I want everybody to know about it.
Yeah, and I'll buy you happiness, honey. That's basically what the whole conversation was. So her boss, Marion's boss, George, says, we got to get this money in the bank right away. Yeah. I don't want 40 grand just sitting around the office, nor do I blame him for that.
No, not at all.
So we cut to Janet Leigh again in a bra. We're 10 minutes into the movie, and there's Janet Leigh in a bra, second time.
Yeah, because she offers to take it. She goes, I'll take it to the bank.
Yes.
I'm not feeling well. Got a headache.
I'll take it to the bank, and then I'm going to go home.
Yeah.
And he's like, fine. Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
So she's got the 40 grand on the bed, and she's packing up. I love, God, I'm a couple movies ahead in our month, just watching them, and my God, he was such a master with subtle storytelling just with the camera. Like you get the establishing shot on her, and she's packing the suitcase, and then the camera just moves on to the money, and then to the suitcase, and you don't have to explicitly say what's going on.
Yeah, he trusts that the viewers can connect the dots.
Yeah.
He lays it out there, and it's not heavy-handed. Yeah. There's no exposition from somebody coming in and be like, "Let me tell you everything that you've missed." Possibly, it's
wow, $40,000,
right? Isn't that how much Sam's in debt?
Wow, what a coincidence! That'll pay off his alimony.
Right? Yeah. But you're right. He's a very visual storyteller, and trusts that his audience can figure it out.
Yeah, can keep up. And so she packs up and she puts the money in the suitcase too, and she's gonna scoot out of town here, Oz.
Right.
So she's about to leave Phoenix, and she's at a stoplight, and you see people. She's at the front of the line, and there's people in the crosswalk, and George, her boss, walks by and
Mm-hmm.
notices her, and they make eye contact.
Yeah, it does a double take.
Yeah, and he doesn't confront her, but he kind of like, huh, you know, he notices her, and he just kind of pauses.
You weren't feeling well.
Yeah. So, and then she drives out of town. And I also one of the things I love too is as soon as, you know, the light turns and she starts driving, you get a voiceover in her head. So like we literally hear her paranoia.
Yes.
And it's, I think you could speculate as to whether this is actually like what he was telling someone later on, but I always got the sense this is just her paranoia.
I did too, which again, like, in some ways, one could argue that flies in the face of everything we just said about Hitchcock being a visual storyteller. However, there's nothing going on in the frame other than just the camera on her. So, like, this is another, like, perfect time to drop in some exposition to, you know, because it's like, if we're watching her drive away, we can't read her mind. We don't have to. He tells us.
Yeah. But again, it's, even though you could argue it is exposition, it doesn't feel like it, because this is all about her.
Right.
This isn't about moving the plot.
It's even kind of echoey. Like, it sounds like it's in her head.
Yeah. So we fade to black for a moment, and we come to, and it's morning time. She had pulled over the car and had just fallen asleep.
Mm-hmm.
An officer walks up, and she's polite to the officer, but she's clearly trying to dismiss him.
Yeah.
You know, hey, can I see your license? What for?
What did I do?
Yeah. You know, so he checks her license and everything, but lets her go. And she, you know, she clearly, you know, there's something suspicious about her. You know, she can't hide her panic.
I don't think a 2024 version of this movie would have been such a congenial parting of the police officer and Marion. Step out of the car, please.
Yeah, exactly.
Call for backup. She's next to you. She's on the ground. What did I do? You fell asleep in your car. You're going downtown. Call the paddy wagon.
I think best case scenario. That's how it
exactly.
Goes. Yeah. So she's she's even more spooked. You know, this the cops are on to me.
Yeah.
You know, there's just a quick edit where they show, you know, they like, as film goers, we see the license plate. So again, that's telling you that the cop saw the license plate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so the next town she pulls right into a car dealership. And she basically is like, I want to buy a new car. How much will you give me for this one? Well, you know, we'll give you, like, how about $700 for yours and for this one over here? And she's like, fine, sold.
Yeah. And he's like, don't you want some time to think about it?
You know, do you want the requisite day and a half? Just no. And she even kind of comes back, and there's a little bit of almost I like feminism here, where you know, she's like, can I just go shopping for something, and can I buy the thing that I want to buy?
Right. Yeah, it's like, why are you questioning what I want to buy?
Yeah. And so she makes the transaction. I also love that same cop pulls his car across the street. And it keeps cutting back to him, and eventually he pulls in, and she finishes the transaction right before, you know, this other cop confronts her. And again, just like simple ways to build tension here.
Oh yeah, and again, because we have listened to because we're the only ones that know what Marion's up to, and therefore we're in on it with her. Like, we are guilty by association of her crime. And so all of her guilt we're in on, because we've heard her internal monologue. We've heard her paranoia. We've seen these things. And it's like, she's our connection to the film. So we have to worry about her.
Yeah.
So when we see these cops, and we see her boss, and we see the car dealer basically trying to get her to slow down, we're just like, no, let her go. Like, because she's
let her buy the car.
She's our journey through the film thus far.
So, you know, she drives away, and you keep hearing this paranoia in her head as she's driving down the highway. Like, and she's even like creating scenarios. There's like the police officer and the car salesman talking to each other, and then like her boss and the other assistant in the office, and you know, she's creating this dialogue for them. She runs into a huge rainstorm. The paranoia is getting the best of her. She's tired. She's weary. There's glare from the other car headlights. And she ends up pulling over at the Bates Motel, and there's vacancy.
Yeah, she's not too far from Fairvale, where she's headed.
Yeah. So she honks, and a man emerges from the home up the hill. On as I put in my notes, the polite and boyish
Very boyish. Yeah.
Norman comes in and checks her in, puts her in cabin 1. I'll put you right next to the office.
Mm-hmm.
She signs in using a pseudonym. Norman then asks, "Hey, will you have dinner with me up in the home?"
Just pretty lonely. Like,
yeah,
and he's not being aggressive.
No.
He's not being flirtatious. He's just, hey, have you had dinner? Because
yeah, you get the impression he's just being a nice guy.
Yeah, he's just being a gracious
Host.
hotel owner.
Yeah, almost. Yeah. And and so he runs up to the house to he just said, "Yeah, I've just got sandwiches and milk, we'll keep it simple, it's just me and my mom up there."
It's like, it's not even Christmas milk.
It's not even Christmas milk. It's cow's milk.
That's right. It's cow milk.
It didn't milk this from eggs. And milk a chicken.
I didn't do it.
We got a bowl around back. I gotta brush my teeth.
Yeah.
And so she goes to the room. She kind of settles in a little bit, and then she ends up hiding the money in a newspaper. And as she's doing this, she overhears, like, she has the window cracked open, and she overhears Norman arguing with his mother. We hear a female voice,
mm-hmm.
And mom thinks she's up to no good. Who's this single woman traveling on her own? And so a moment later, a very defeated Norman comes down there, bringing the dinner with him. He brings the sandwiches and the milk, and why don't we eat in the office? After he hesitates to enter her room with it,
right?
And so they end up eating in the office's back parlor, which has several stuffed mounted birds
mm-hmm.
throughout the office. And he even kind of is joking with her, like, "You eat like a bird."
She's like, "Oh, no."
I mean, he was pre-chewed everything for her and spit it directly into her mouth.
Well, she was pre-chewing it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
spitting it back into her own mouth.
Yeah, she's just hocking it up in the air.
She's going after a sandwich like a condor, like just tearing at it, ripping at its carrion.
Carrion. His hobby's taxidermy.
Yeah.
It's not even an expensive hobby. You just need the sawdust and the needle and everything.
Right, and the dead animals.
Yeah, exactly.
They help.
And he the conversation turns to, like, kind of interpersonal a little bit, and he kind of clams up when she asks, "Do you go out with friends?" And he says, "Well, a boy's best friend is his mother."
Yeah.
Yeah.
She calls him a dweeb and a drip, and
gives him a big wedgie. Yeah.
She's a tough woman.
She is. Yeah. Pulls his underwear over his head.
Yeah.
She implies she's running from something, and he says, we're all in our private traps. There's a couple of just great quotes.
Yeah, they really are. They've stood the test of time too. They're not just like, "Oh, did you hear that?" Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's like, if you're into horror, you've heard these quotes.
Yeah. And so he kind of gets serious at some point, because, especially when Marion, the conversation turns to the mom, turns to Norman's mother, and and he had said before, she's ill, she's sick, it kind of implies she's an invalid, and so Marion suggests that, why don't you put her someplace? And he leans forward, and again, the shadows kind of follow his face and everything. It's great. And, and she says, it's not as if she's a maniac. She just goes mad sometimes. We all go mad sometimes.
Another one of those just.
And as she goes to leave, she, despite the fact that she used, a fake name in the ledger, she accidentally uses her real last name.
Right.
She, like, he asks, what was your, good night, Miss, I forget your name, Miss Crane.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes out and realizes that the name in the ledger is incongruous. And that's kind of when his demeanor and disposition really changes here.
Yeah.
So she leaves and goes back to her room, Oz, and he, as she's there, he removes a picture from the wall and watches her undress. So, for the third time in the movie, we see her either partially dressed or in the act of undressing. And as he's done, he goes back up the hill to his home. Back in the room, Marion, she's like she kind of like has her own little like paper ledger she puts together. She writes $40,000 on a piece of paper, subtracts 700, and then she kind of like what am I doing? Then she just tears it up and flushes it in the toilet. Oz,
that just disgraceful.
I know.
I can't imagine how much more money this movie would have made had they avoided that just awful scene.
Yep. Yeah, the only people who enjoyed this are the people with Kohler toilets.
Yeah, just perverts.
Toilet. So Marion gets in the shower.
Totally fine. Like, showers are fine. Toilets are gross.
Yeah, disgusting.
Yeah.
And as she's in the shower, you've got kind of the translucent shower curtain. So it's a shot from kind of shoulder up, looking towards the door in the bathroom. And
not a lot of room in that shower for the cameraman too. Must have had a real thin one.
thin camera or thin cameraman?
Both. Probably shooting on an iPhone 12.
Probably. So it was very two-dimensional camera.
Yeah.
Two-dimensional cameraman too.
That's true. Real thin guy.
Yeah. And so we see this figure walk through the door. Very tall figure with long hair and the hair pulled back behind the head. And this figure rips the shower open. Marion, of course, just screams.
Yeah.
And this person stabs Marion to death.
Oh, yeah.
Right there. We're about a third of the way into the movie, even almost halfway in. And our main character. Yeah, I was just saying, our main character is gone now. Yeah, and there's no doubt. There's no, she's unconscious or anything. She's dead.
Yeah, there's no, we didn't actually see the knife penetrate. No, trust us, she's gone.
She's dead. That Hershey syrup going down the shower drain is proof.
I heard somewhere, I may have even read it too, that like Hitchcock filmed this scene with like several different actors in the role of the murderer, and none of them were the actual guilty party in the movie. Like, just to throw that, like every time you cut, it's a slightly different build of body. And there's such quick cuts that if you don't know that, you're not going to pay attention to it. But just even playing chess of that whole, we're making a movie, we want to keep this under wraps, so let's just make it look complete. Just so many red herrings, even before anybody questions it. Just covering your bases. It's just so genius.
That's where Clue got the idea of the multiple endings.
Right. They just didn't quite have a Hitchcockian director.
They did have a Mrs. Peacock though. So.
Right, Peacockian director.
Peacockian. I think that's our second Peacockian reference here. Yeah, it's the peacock chest hair.
Yes.
Before, yes.
The man with the crystal plumage.
Crystal plumage. I think she was in one of our classes at Western, was she not? Crystal plumage.
Yeah,
she was out there.
She's at a few house parties too.
Yeah. I think she called into the radio show a couple of times.
Hey, it's me, Crystal Plumage.
Crystal Plumage. Always introduce herself that way too. Crystal Plumage.
Crystal Plumage. Hail Scroob.
Comes from a long line of plumages.
You know my dad. Harold.
Harold Plumage. Harry Plumage. Did you even intend that, or was
no,
that?
I didn't. I just.
Harry Plumage and his daughter Crystal.
Completely accidental.
Oh, I'm crying. Oh, great. Okay, so Marion's dead in the shower.
Yeah,
and we get this extended sequence of the killer runs off.
Yeah,
and just leaves the body. That just stabby, and then is gone.
Leaves the water running. Just quick evacuation.
Yeah. So a couple minutes later, Norman kind of comes stumbling in. Sees the doors open, and comes in and discovers the body there. And Norman cleans everything up.
Yeah, kind of freaks out a little bit.
Yeah,
like, oh no, but
I mean, he's disturbed. The first thing he notices when he walks in is, he kind of gasps and puts his hand over his mouth.
Right.
Just in the shock and horror of just finding this dead woman.
Yeah.
On his property, and so he goes and grabs a mop and cleans it up, lays the shower curtain out, puts the body in the shower curtain so it doesn't, no more blood or anything gets anywhere. Puts the body in the trunk of Marion's car, cleans the bathroom, and then puts the car in the local pond behind the hotel there.
Yeah.
Just sinks it.
Yeah. It's like, just the quick switch on our introduction to Norman. And he's a mama's boy, but he's polite. He's a small business owner. He's charismatic, but he's not like pushy. It's like, and then everything changes when he opens that peephole.
Yeah.
Like, for the audience, that's like, I wish I had the opportunity to see this in its initial run.
I know. Yeah. Without knowing anything about it.
Because even if you haven't seen the movie, what's going on, but just to have that flipped to when he peeps in on her, and then you realize that this guy's not as cool as we thought he was. And then just seeing how he approaches this, like, yes, he's like flabbergasted by it, but then he switches almost into like, I have to do this again. I have to clean up again. Like, just the swiftness and completeness of how he handled
the
this,
thoroughness
of how he handled this, it just tells us again visually of this is not the first time he's done this. Like, he's very, like, because he was never shocked by it. He was surprised, but almost in a like, oh, again? Like, who keeps killing my guests? He just don't want to wash the sheets. That's really, if I kill them before they go to bed.
That's what it is.
If they're dead before bed, then I don't know. There's something there. But
dead before bed. Oh,
I don't have to wash sheets.
Yeah, that's how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So even he takes the newspaper, with all the money in it, and he just throws it in the trunk with the body too. Doesn't even look inside. Which
that gives this movie to me like a From Dusk Till Dawn curveball.
You literally beat me to it. I was just about to say I almost included a fourth movie in my movie marriage, and it was From Dusk Till Dawn.
That would have been a perfect fit, because up to this point in time, this entire movie has been about that $40,000.
Yeah.
This entire movie has been about Marion and $40,000,
mm-hmm.
and in the matter of moments, Marion and the $40,000 are gone.
Yeah, irrelevant.
And now you're like, there's an hour left in this movie. Like, so as a film viewer, you really have no clue of the direction of this film.
I mean, what's next? And that's the true kind of thriller aspect of this.
That's really what makes this movie so great. Is for a first time viewer, I have no idea where this is going.
Yeah, just how shocking it is, and just how hard of a turn it takes.
Right.
So a week later, Marion's sister Lila enters Sam's hardware store up in Fairvale. Says, I haven't had any contact with Marion in a week, and I need to know that she's safe, and I'm assuming she's with you.
Right.
And as they're kind of arguing, Private Detective Arbogast walks in and says, I've been hired to find the $40,000, and I followed you pretty easily, Lila.
Literally, like I was behind you the entire trip.
The entire time. Like just tapping you on the shoulder. And then I just ducked down when you turned.
I was in your back seat.
like a loaded weapon.
Don't look.
Don't look. I was trying to lose him. We then get a brief montage of Arbogast checking local motels, and then he pulls up to Bates's. Norman comes out to greet him, and I haven't had anybody in weeks. Arbogast shows Norman the picture. Norman says doesn't ring a bell, and Norman's doing a pretty good job of keeping his cool so far. So far. Arbogast then goes through the guest book, and he has a sampling of Marion's handwriting with him, and he matches it. He says, "Oh, that's a pseudonym. She used like Samuelson as like the last name, and boyfriend's name is Sam. It's like, oh, that was her. Then Norman does start to remember, oh, that just wasn't a very good picture that you showed me.
He's really like whole body action, drumming his fingers on the countertop.
He's got like a little bag of like nuts or something he's eating too.
He's just chomping through them.
Yeah. And he's kind of mixing up his words and
fumbling. A lot of nervous behavior.
Yeah. Arbogast starts implying that Norman is hiding Marion.
Yeah.
And he even comes out and says, she might have fooled me, but not my mother. Norman then, because again, as the topic kind of goes to his mother, Norman gets upset and asks Arbogast to leave. Arbogast from a phone booth calls Sam back up and asks for Lila, who, I don't know, must have been staying there or whatnot.
Sam moves on pretty quick.
I mean, with crystal plumage and all.
Yeah, he just unbuttons it and he goes, I don't see your sister around here.
This is a hardware store after all.
There's other jokes there, but I'm going to leave them.
Yeah, we'll just let that go.
Yeah.
And he tells Lila that, Marion was at the Bates Hotel, but he doesn't think that Sam knew that Marion was there. So in other words, Sam's not in on it. Because, Arbogast was very suspicious of Sam, where there's the boyfriend.
Understandably so.
Where there's the boyfriend, there's usually the girlfriend, which, again, logically makes sense. I'll be back in an hour. I'm going to go back and try to talk to the mother. I'll see you in an hour.
Yeah.
Arbogast goes back to the Bates Motel, looks in the office, doesn't see anybody there, but does see a light on up in the home. And so he enters, goes upstairs, and as he's walking up the stairs, we see a bedroom door near the top of the staircase. Yeah, slowly open. How would you describe this with the camera kind of above them?
Yeah, it's very bird's eye view.
Yeah.
Like just you are positioned like perpendicular to the ground. Like you're like parallel to the floor looking down.
Yeah.
And so you get the view of Arbogast coming up the stairs, but you could also see that kind of foyer area where where he hits the landing, it wraps around. So it's like we really get to see from like a fly's perspective of what's going on. And so there's no POV other than just us.
Yeah. And so just as Arbogast gets to the top of the stairs and kind of takes a left turn, this bedroom door flies open and the mother runs out with a knife, stabs Arbogast. Really cool shot of him falling backwards down the stairs. And the mother just descends on him, just follows him right down and just plunges the knife right in him.
It does take Arbogast a little bit to fall. He falls very slowly. Like gravity doesn't work the same.
Well, it's in Arizona. Gravity's it's got its own different field there.
So it's not quite the gravital impact, but it's there. But no, it is a very cool shot. It's almost like it would be an easy shot to do today because you would just like strap a GoPro on someone's chest and have but back in 1960 of this hover, it's obviously it's
there was some trick photography there,
and some reverse reverse projection, but it's still cool. Because a lot of times you just see that type of camera work when on like car shots where they don't want to put the car on the road, they just like have video playing behind it, and you shake the fake car, but it's like Hitchcock's like, well, let's just do something different with that.
Yeah, it's like Toonces, the driving cat.
Kinda. I think Toonces was inspired like from Hitchcock. Like, hey,
I there's a direct line from Psycho to Toonces, the driving cat.
Toonces. Well, he was a stuffed cat.
Toonces, look out!
Toonces was a taxidermied cat, so no, it wasn't.
So back to Sam and Lila at the hardware store, and it's been 3 hours. Arbogast said, I'll be back in an hour, and Lila's panicked.
Yes.
Sam goes to the hotel and doesn't find Arbogast. He's just kind of calling for him. And he goes back to get Lila, and they go to the local sheriff's house. Wake him up. They tell him everything about Marion, tell him about the detective. Chambers mentions there was some quote-unquote bad business at the Bates place about 10 years ago. Norman lives as a hermit. And when they say that Arbogast went to talk to Norman's mother, Chambers says that she's been dead for 10 years.
Yeah, his wife's there too. She's like, I hope Norman pick out the dress.
Yeah, it was Periwinkle.
Yeah.
And Mrs. Bates poisoned her boyfriend, and after she discovered that he was married, then killed herself with the same poison.
Mm-hmm.
And Norman found them dead together in bed. And the sheriff says, that he, or was it? Yeah, Tom says that when I was there, I saw an old woman in the window, and Arbogast, and Arbogast said that he saw her too.
Yeah.
So there's somebody there. There's somebody other than Norman there.
Right.
And the sheriff's even like, well, who did we bury then?
Yeah, it's just kind of a scene fade out there of like, well, if his mother's at the house, then who's in her? Who'd we bury?
So back at the Bates home, we overhear Norman talking with his mother, insisting that she hide in the fruit cellar, and she refuses. But he just carries her, and
we get that overhead shot again.
Yeah, same angle, same bird's eye view
of the mother, of, like you said, of Norman carrying the mother out of that same room.
Yeah, out of the second floor bedroom. Yeah, and when we see it and we hear her arguing with him, the next morning, Tom and Lila talk with Chambers outside of his church. I went to the hotel that morning. Chambers did, and I talked with Norman. Same story, and he saw the pseudonym in the ledger as well. And so Lila and Tom they go to the hotel. Oh, Sam. Sorry, I don't know where I got Tom from. Yeah. So Sam and Lila go to the hotel, pretend to be married, and they get a room. Norman checks him into room 10, and Lila's convinced Arbogast was honest with him. Like he was telling the truth. He wouldn't have just taken off with the money. And because that's what the sheriff thought.
Yeah. That, your guy found the money and split.
Yeah. So they're there at the hotel, and they get into the room, in a room 1 that Marion was in, and they find a scrap of paper by the toilet that says $40,000. And so Lila's like, I've got to go talk to the mother. She knows something. What did she tell Arbogast?
Yeah.
And so Sam, I don't know. From that forward, I have Tom in here. I don't know where I got Tom from.
I don't know.
I just did a find and replace, and I have 10 mentions of the word Tom in here. So Tom, Sam, whoever, Loomis. Sam goes to talk with Norman to distract them, while Lila goes up to the house to find the mother. And there's a great point of view shot of Lila walking up the stairs.
Yes.
And the house itself is framed as like a villain. It's so cool.
Oh yeah. It's just iconic. Like for the house really like not having it, there's a role to it, but it's not a haunted house, where you get some of that. But it is cool to see, like, if you see the Amityville house, it's the Amityville house. If you see the Psycho house, it's the Psycho house. Like that's just, I love it when real estate,
very iconic, yeah.
When real estate can play into where like, I know that look.
So Lila sneaks into the home, and she goes upstairs into the mother's bedroom. And of course, initially we're thinking something bad's going to happen there, but so she walks in and she looks around and she sees the bed, and there's a body-shaped indent on the bed, as if someone has been lying in that position for a very long time.
Right.
She then goes into what appears to be a small child's room, a small boy's room, and sees the bed undone. Back to Sam, who is just grilling Norman at this point. So that conversation really escalated fast.
Yeah.
And he's just grilling him. How are you going to afford a new hotel? Now that you've got this $40,000.
Right. Because it's like, that's the piece of, it's hard to watch this as a first time viewer when you're not. Like, it's hard to take yourself out of it when we know the twist.
Yeah.
But it's like up to this point, it's still, she's gone. Where's the money?
Yeah.
Like, where's Marion and where's the money and where's Arbogast? Like, we know the truth. And that's why, again, it's hard. It's like, we know and we can't help.
Yeah. And so Norman realizes, like, where's the woman at? Where's Lila? And so they start to get into a scuffle, and he knocks out Sam. And Lila, who I now have as Lisa here.
Tom and Lisa.
Tom and Lisa
are checking out.
So Lila hides in the basement as Norman runs upstairs, and she's kind of keeps going further as she's down there, and she walks into the fruit cellar, which earlier that's
We've
where
had
we
that,
knew,
yeah.
And there's his mother sitting there with the back to the door, and so she walks up and turns the chair around, and it is an old corpse.
Yeah, like all just
wrinkly.
Yeah.
And no eyes are long gone. Just this old decayed corpse.
It's just jerky at this point.
Yeah. Snap into a Slim Jim.
You, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mothers are the cream of the crop.
And then Lila gives her a top rope elbow drop.
There you go. Spins as she's pointing at the ceiling.
And so she just screams because yeah. And just great cinematography here. There's like, again, this fruit cellar, there's one of those old like light bulbs on the chain that's just hanging from the ceiling. And so she kind of knocks into it. So it's like, that's the only natural lighting in the room. And so it's just, it's just waving across the mother's face.
Shadows flying everywhere.
Yeah. Norman runs in with a knife, dressed as his mother, has a wig on and everything, has one of her house dresses on.
Yeah. And you can tell he's just thrown it on like haphazardly. Like,
yes.
Because the wig's askew. And
yeah, because he ran up the stairs. And so you get the impression while he was up there, he put one of her dresses on. Sam runs in and just kind of tackles Norman from behind. We then cut to an epilogue at the police station. So
and I love the shot when Sam tackles Norman and the wig coming off of Norman, and just the look almost of just internal struggle on Norman's face. As at this point, we clearly know that there's some split personality thing going on.
Yeah.
And when that wig slides off, and it's just like, he's not really fighting Sam. I never took it as, once that wig slides off, that fight is internal.
Yeah.
Because he's not putting up much of a fight with Sam. He's constrained, but he's just struggling. And it's just, I've always loved that shot of that, just that wig sliding off his head, and you see Norman in a dress just battling internally.
And like his physical self is about giving up at that point.
Yeah.
And so we get the epilogue at the police station, and there's media gathered outside. It's this like county courthouse police station, and Chambers is there. He tells Tom and Lisa that
new characters, by the
way. So tell Sam and Lila that hopefully the psychiatrist can get some answers out. And of course, the psychiatrist then walks out and says, "I got the story, but I got it from Norman's mother."
Right.
Norman Bates never really existed. Norman didn't quote unquote didn't kill Marion or Arbogast. The mother did, and the mother confessed to other killings of young women as well. And that basically Norman has been just dangerously disturbed since his father died. His mother was clingy, demanding. The mother met this other man, and Norman killed both of them, committed matricide, killed the boyfriend. Norman began to speak for her, as her. He was never all Norman, but he was definitely all mother.
Yeah.
And the two sides were jealous of each other. And the mother would just go nuts if she perceived that Norman was attracted to another woman. And there's, again, just another quote here. When the mind houses two personalities, there's always a battle. An officer brings Norman a blanket, who says there's a little chill. And we hear, again, the shot is in the hallway.
Yeah,
so you don't
it's
see
really, really cool.
And we hear the mother's voice tell the officer, "Thank you."
Yeah. Almost like sultry. Like,
yes, thank you.
Yeah.
And so we end with the camera pushing in on Norman with his blanket wrapped around him, and we hear mother's thoughts. They'll see and know why she wouldn't even harm a fly.
Right.
There's a fly buzzing around the room.
Yeah.
Oh. And as we go, we start fading. There's a skeleton that's superimposed over Norman's face as the shot goes to Marion's car being pulled out of the pond, and that's it.
I know. I love this movie.
I know. What a great movie. That's Psycho, folks, and ran a little long with the plot, but I mean, just there's so much there, and what a great film. Any final thoughts before we move on here, Oz?
This this has the ability, which is great because you figure M. Night Shyamalan doesn't have this. I can make a film that has a twist, but it's still a great film to watch again and again and again. Like so many, and Shyamalan tries so hard to be Alfred Hitchcock.
He really tries.
You know, he tries so hard by even like casting himself in his movies. Like,
Yeah.
And you know what? That's great because he is a successful filmmaker. Not all of his movies are bad, you know, but he's clearly not Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah.
He's basically Brian De Palma, who's also been trying to do Alfred Hitchcock, etc. But like Psycho has that ability that even when you know what's going on, it's still just a great movie. Like you can watch it even knowing the hook and be like, this is still just a solid film.
Yeah. You still feel that tension every time.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
All right. Well, hey, every week Oz and I give our own unique rating to the film we watch and yap about. Hey, Oz, how would you rate Psycho?
I'm going to give this 10 taxidermied birds.
10 taxidermied birds.
What are you giving it?
I'm going to give it, let's go 9 toilet flushes.
All right.
I was originally going to go with $40,000, but
I almost did too.
Yeah.
But I thought you would, so I didn't.
Next up, folks, Oz and I have been scouring the interwebs searching for unprofessional reviews that tickle our funny bones, and we hope they tickle yours as well. And our next segment, Outside Insights. Hey, Oz, what's your outside insight?
My outside insight comes from Letterboxd this week. It is a 5-star review by Will Menaker, left September 30th, 2020. A little tongue-in-cheek, but it's still fun. He says, before the Janet Leigh shower scene, no one in America knew what a naked woman's body looked like.
Nope, nobody.
In fact, most women didn't even know you were supposed to be nude to bathe. Hitchcock's suggestion of nudity on film and frank depiction of sex outside of wedlock created horniness for the first time in our history.
Horniness.
Hitchcock got everyone sprung before immediately showing the most brutal murder that had ever been depicted in art. The juxtaposition of these two heretofore never experienced phenomena created something called psychology for the first time ever and permanently warped America's minds by connecting having a mother to sex and death. Truly, Hitchcock is a master of puppets. 5 stars. Most women didn't even know you're supposed to be nude to bathe.
No, that was unheard of.
Thanks, Al.
The more clothes you wear, the cleaner you are.
Yeah, then you don't have to do as much laundry.
Right, you have 2 birds, 1 stone.
What's yours?
My outside insight, as always, comes from the Internet Movie Database. It is a 2 out of 10.
Okay.
Left from Comet Chaser in November of 2002. I'm guessing that Comet Chaser, they use Comet to clean the toilet, so there's definitely a through line here.
There's a connection here.
Just didn't like how that's not the right cleaner to use for toilets.
No, it'll really scrape up the porcelain.
So the subject line here is boring, cheesy, and overrated. This has got to be one of the most overrated movies in history. What, pray tell, is so scary about a man in a dress wielding a kitchen knife? If you want to be scared, go see The Ring or Event Horizon. 2 very underrated movies that scare while making you think.
You think Tony Perkins is scary? Check out Sam Neill.
Sam Neill. Australians. Scary.
Or Sarah Michelle Gellar. Oh, no, wait, no. That's The Grudge. Sorry.
Same thing.
Naomi Watts is scary.
Mm-hmm.
Was it Naomi Watts in The
Was
Ring?
it in The Ring? I don't know.
Some blonde. I think it's Naomi.
Some blonde. Well, I mean, we both have devices in front of this.
I don't. I'm.
It was Naomi Watts, yeah.
Yay!
Good memory. Yep. So, if you want to be scared, go see The Ring or Event Horizon.
Yeah, they'll make you think too.
And yes, you'll be scared while provoking some thoughts. Huh? Girl climbed out of the TV.
Huh?
How about that?
Space? Huh? It's Carl Sagan's favorite horror film, Event Horizon.
The devil in space?
Huh? Larry Fishburne in space? I'm rather scared and thinking.
It's only for Mensa members. Can you watch
Right?
Event Horizon
So-
and The Ring?
You got to be using nothing but the top layer of Bloom's taxonomy to really deliver those.
Bloom's taxonomy.
To understand those films.
Only Crystal Plumage can keep up with that one.
And her father, Harry.
They're Mensa members.
Card carrying.
Oh, last up in our comedy segments is the let's talk about Flick's signature segment, the 3-2-1, in which Oz and I will each share 3 goods, 2 bads, and 1 Crystal Plumage about this week's movie, Psycho. Hey, Oz, what are your 3 goods?
My first one is we get a bad 60s female. Like I think that's a piece too that Hitchcock doesn't quite get enough recognition for. Is Marion Crane is not a hero in this film.
She stole $40,000.
Yeah, like she you'd mentioned feminism earlier. This is a woman that knows what she wants.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not going to take anything away from her, but back in that time, she was a bad girl. Like, this is not what a good Christian does.
Well, she was wearing a black bra at one point.
Yeah, she was. So, and she flushed the toilet.
Gross.
So my first good is just the portrayal of just a quote unquote bad 60s female.
Yeah, as the protagonist.
Yeah. My second good is Tony Perkins is great in this film.
He is.
Like, talk about riding a high for your career. Like, he starred in I don't know how many more Psycho sequels, but it's like there was, for Anthony Perkins, there was this, and that was it, really. Like, he was just great. Like, great Norman Bates in this movie. And so that's my second good. My third, of course, it's really, you can't overestimate just how influential this movie was. Yeah. Even now, 64 years later, there are homages to and credit where credit is due to, and all the other things that a movie like this deserves. And so just a super influential film. Yeah. Those are my 3 goods. What do you got?
Love it. My first one has some tie-ins with your first one as well. And that just this movie's take on sexuality and how it comes, it just tackles some of the taboos. We've talked about a lot of this already, but I think it's so worth mentioning as one of my official goods.
Yeah.
Norman yelling at himself as his mother, saying Marion's up to no good, like assuming that this single woman is there, as some kind of sexual deviant, to take her son away, to sex him up good.
Well, and it's awful because this movie is 64 years old and women still deal with this crap. Yeah. Of like, if you have values any different than what I want you to have, then you're bad. Then you're not. Then you're just not a good person. And it's like, oh, let it go. Let it go.
I mean, based on some of the candidates, again, we're filming.
Exactly.
This is in fall of 2024 for posterity's sake, and some of our presidential candidates right now and vice presidential candidates believe that women's main purpose is for procreation.
Yeah. Yeah, stay home, have babies.
I mean, the other nominee doesn't even have kids of her own.
Right. It's like, what a drab. Like, it's just so disgusting that it's just disgusting that this is even close. That is even close.
Yeah. But again, it just, Norman can't even say the word bathroom.
No,
because he's like, when she arrives, he kind of gives her the little tour of the room. Like, there's the bed and there's the desk. There's stationery. It says Bates Motel on it, and there's the, and she bathroom.
Yeah, she's like, she's already has her shirt off, by the way.
She's changed 3 times already.
Just through the walk through the tour of the hotel room.
But yeah, again, it just this movie just tackles sexuality, and sometimes it's obvious and sometimes it's subtle, and it's I love it.
Yeah.
My second good is, let's go with the conversation between Arbogast and Norman. Just how it's Arbogast is very laid back and casual.
Yeah.
and he kind of gets Norman to let his guard down.
Yeah, he's calculated at the same time.
And once he figures out Norman's onto something, and Norman picks up on this. Again, as you mentioned before, with just how great Anthony Perkins is in this as well. So there's so many great scenes in this movie, just that ratchet up tension, and a lot of it's just through conversation.
Yeah,
and so
line delivery, and just nailed it.
So that's my second, and for the last one, let's just go with the opening score and title card. It sets the tone.
Yeah,
that you're not. Again, you don't know what you're in for with this movie,
right?
And just a very almost like halting score that is intended, I think, to throw you off a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
So, yeah, those are my three goods. Hey, Oz, what are your two bads?
Oh, really hard to get. I mean, the movie with this, I've got my first one is just that final exposition scene. Like,
with the psychiatrist.
It just I won't say it drags on because it's all necessary information, but it felt very much like, okay, class, listen up.
Yep. I think I was reading Hitchcock wasn't a fan of that either.
Yeah. It's just, again, the movie's over at this point. Like, all the action pieces are done, but it's just this whole, all right, gather around. I've got to talk. And it's like, so that's my first bad. It's not bad, but it's also one of these that it definitely doesn't have any teeth once you've watched the movie. Like, your second, third viewing or whatever, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. it. And so my second one is just how under rewarded this movie is. Only had 4 Oscar nominations, no wins. Janet Leigh was beaten in supporting actress by Shirley Jones in the movie Elmer Gantry. It lost black and white set direction to The Apartment. It lost black and white cinematography to Sons and Lovers, and Hitchcock lost Best Director to Billy Wilder from The Apartment. Now, not to take anything away, because The Apartment is a great film, but it's like, what do people talk about today? Is it, you know what I mean? It's like, just how many people you're like, oh my God, let's talk about The Apartment again. Look at all the influence of Sons and Lovers on cinema today. So that's my second bad, is just no award presence for this film. Yeah. But again, you're talking a horror film in the 60s. So, even today, they're still all but like, oh, that's not award fodder. Like,
yep. Genre films, you typically don't see a lot of them.
Yeah.
Comedy, horror, sci-fi.
But at the same time, looking back, it's like, I like it in like professional sports where like give it a few years and they'll go back and like redraft.
Yeah, like relitigate it. Yeah.
Yeah. I like doing that. In this movie, I think if you were to go back and like re-award based on influence and longevity and things like that, it's like, I don't think Hitchcock's probably going home empty-handed for this one.
Yeah.
So what are your two bads?
I'm going to start with just Hitchcock was a known perv, which is probably going to be a recurring theme this month.
Yeah.
So
maybe not so much next week, but at least female wise. Yeah. But yeah, I agree. Hitchcock was not a good person.
No. And the other one was, and I debated whether to frame this as a bad, but like right at the end, again, kind of going with the psychiatrist, they use the word transvestite. And one of them is like, well, yeah, it was a transvestite doing this. And the psychiatrist even jumps in and corrects, like, no, it was him as in character as mother.
Right.
Wearing women's clothes. And so my bad is like people who take that out of context.
Okay.
It's like, well, it's a guy dressing up as a woman, trans, no, he had dissociative personality disorder.
He wasn't a man in his mind.
He had dissociative identity disorder and acted that out.
Yes.
So when he was dressed as a woman, he thought he was.
Right.
Literally, this wasn't, there wasn't any like coming to grips with identity or embracing an identity. That was the identity.
Yeah. Like, it was, what am I doing in this man's body?
Yeah. And it was very literal.
Yeah.
And so it's just people who take it out of context.
Fair enough. Yeah. I get you.
Yeah. So I struggle with that one a little bit, but hopefully the point is there.
I think so.
All right, hey Oz, what's your huh?
How far was Sam willing to travel to be with Marion? I looked it up. Phoenix, Arizona to Fairvale, California is 12 hours. He owns a hardware store. Like I just like, one, how'd you meet?
Yeah.
But like you're going to travel 12 hours to just sleep with a woman over her lunch break. Like, just somebody like, so that was it. Just how far was Sam willing to go to cheat with Marion?
They were both very attractive people.
Yeah, but I'm not taking anything away from that. But I'm more like, how'd you guys even meet? You're 12 hours apart, and he owns a business. So it's not like, oh, yeah, we used to be neighborhood pals. Like, oh, I met her at a mixer. No, you didn't. You worked 12 hours away.
At the local ice cream social.
Right. So, but that's just, with Phoenix and Fairvale being 12 hours away, like, how often was this drive happening? Like, The heart wants what the heart wants. Like, well, there's no one else in Phoenix for you. Like, I mean, whatever. But we got a great film out of it. But that's my highs. How far was he willing to travel for Marion? What's your huh?
My huh is it's just funny, like what's taboo and what's not for this time. And I'll kind of get to the actual like punchline here in a moment, but like like we can't flush a toilet. We can't show a woman in a bra. We can't show one bed in a room. We can't show two people having or even having had sex out of wedlock.
Right.
But office tranquilizers.
Got him right here.
So, like, what else was that lady packing?
Right.
I got some office cocaine here.
Ooh, need some heroin. Black tar, just how I like it.
Got some office crystal meth.
Right. Anybody want an upper? Downer?
I have my tooth, too. What else did she have?
Just tranquilizers.
And how is that acceptable? That's like, I mean, not only is it illegal, like, how does that, like, that's like, that just comes up in the workplace setting?
Who knows? Who knows? I looked quickly. This movie was filmed on like an $803,000 budget, and it made $50 million at the box office. I did a quick conversion. Obviously, things aren't, all even Steven, but
sure.
$50 million in 1960 is $531,750,000 today. So this is a $500 million movie.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that's, granted, $1 billion movie is, I won't say it's nothing, but it's common these days compared to, but that's just, that's crazy. Just crazy.
Well, it shows how people responded to it as well.
Right. Oh, yeah.
I'm sure it really was kind of a zeitgeist.
Yeah. This was number 2. This was the number 2 movie of the year. I
mean, people like to feel and express feelings and emotions when they go to the movies. That's why people love horror movies, and that's why people love comedies.
Yeah.
And even like love stories too, like romance movies, you go there to feel the feels and laugh with the characters, be terrified with the characters, love with the characters. And that's a big part of going to the old flicks, folks.
Getting there. Number 1 movie of 1960 was Spartacus, which made about, we're talking like grossing films of the year. Spartacus made $14 million domestically. Psycho made 9.1. Swiss Family Robinson was number 4 at 8.1. So again, you got like way opposites of the spectrum here.
You know how many toilets were flushed in Spartacus?
Yeah.
None.
0.
That's why it was number 1 and Psycho was number 2.
I'll pay an extra $5 million to not have to wash that water. The Apartment was number 8.
I demand a refund.
Right.
There was a toilet flushing.
Yeah, the Apartment was number 8 film of the year. So, but yeah, it would great film.
Yeah.
Great film.
Great film. All-time great film, my
Yes.
friend.
We will be back next week with
Yeah, we
another
are.
Hitchcock film. This one, a much lesser known one.
Mm-hmm.
Had you seen this movie prior to your
I
review?
had not. It was my first time watching it, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I really like this movie. This movie is, let me pull it up real quick, 1948.
I think the oldest of the films that we're watching
It
this
is,
month.
yeah. This is, I wouldn't even consider this an early Hitchcock, honestly.
It was kind of mid.
Because he was pumping out movies in like the late 20s and 30s.
Yeah.
And so this is like mid Hitchcock. We're going to be watching Rope.
Yeah, we are.
Rope, starring James Stewart.
You get to hear Jimmy Stewart next week.
It's me, Jimmy Stewart.
Jimmy Stewart.
Bring me that pen and paper. Jimmy Stewart.
I came back for $1 drink.
So, but yeah, he's all over the poster art for this movie. But newsflash, he's not really the main character of the film.
No, he's not.
But again, another very simple Hitchcock premise.
Yep.
And just leaves it all right there on the screen. And again, it's like Hitchcock plays at so many different levels. He's like, I'm going to make this movie very simple and easy to watch, but I also want to have some fun with it. So this movie is supposed to look like just like one long shot.
Mm-hmm.
Now, much more effective back then than it would be today, just because I think it's very easy to see where the cuts were then. But still, just a fun movie. Another real fun movie.
Yeah,
I like this movie.
It really feels like a play.
Yeah,
you're watching a live production.
Yeah. You're looking at like the entire thing's one location, and it's just really, really fun movie.
I think you're literally in 2 rooms the entire time.
Yeah, it's just like an apartment. Like, you're really not in much, but it's a short burn here, 80 minutes. I'm looking forward to revisiting that one again this week. So, social media wise, you guys can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We do have a Patreon link down below if you'd like to join the Patreon army. Mm-hmm. We'd love to shout your names for a few bucks a month. But other than that,
crystal plumage.
So if anything, donate to help us afford a little bit more Christmas milk this holiday season.
A little bit of Christmas milk goes a long way.
So we tossed around the idea. I might build us a website for next year, but we'll see. I got a couple irons and fires that if I get the time, I will. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for stopping by, and we will be back next week to talk about Rope for another episode of Let's Talk About Flicks. I'm Oz.
I'm Curtis.
I will see you guys then.